Hey there everyone and welcome to another Squirrel preview. Sorry I haven't done a video in a while. When this festival came out I was actually away from home, and then when I did get back home I tested the runes and they were they're very buggy. So I told them on Friday and they managed to fix one of the bugs. However, still there are a few sticking around. So I'm just going to show them anyway and point out where there are bugs. But yeah, we got 3 new nature Squirrels for each class, and why I'm so excited about this is because nature Squirrels are really lacking. Nature across all classes is lacking. Knights have some good ones, but anyway, we really needed a boost, and these new Squirrels did give us a boost. So for Wizard, we've got one for Polymorph, one for Healing Fountain, and then one for Mimic. So going through these in order, the Polymorph one is the most interesting one. Actually, yeah, I'll talk about that later. We'll talk about the Mimic one. So to clarify, Mimic doesn't use your elemental stats, and anything formed by the Mimic won't use your elemental stats. So I got asked about Drake and whether or not this would boost Nature Drake. It doesn't, in fact. In fact, the Drakes as well, because they're pet damage, they don't use your elemental stats. And even when you're using a Mimic that has boosted Nature, the Nature Drakes don't do boosted Nature damage. So basically, let's say you had 200% Nature stat on your character, and you were using a Nature skill. The Nature damage would do triple the amount. However, the nature damage with the Mimic wouldn't do triple. It would just do the base amount. What this does, by giving that sort of 200% boost to nature, is it means any nature damage dealt by your Mimic will be tripled. So ultimately, this is what kind of keeps Mimics useful in the long run. Like, after you've got your elemental stats up, Mimic just kind of doesn't do so much damage. However, with the Squirrels, it can still do some decent damage. So, it's not a Squirrel I would go for specifically, and the extra effect on it doesn't really do a lot, but that's one there. Nature element. We've already got fire and shadow, so yeah, now we've got a nature one. For Healing Fountain, also this is quite an interesting one, simply because in previous Squirrel previews, when I've looked at Healing Shrine and Cleansing Flame, they don't deal much damage. I was saying they don't deal much damage, but actually they do deal quite a lot. Basically, don't ignore that percent amount. Look at the static damage. That 11,000 on the new one, or 11,000 on Healing Shrine as well. And that's actually quite a nice figure. So overall, it does like 35% damage or something, and that's hitting 10 times. So actually, it's 350%, which is a very, very large amount. Now, obviously, you can't rely on this skill as a damage skill because it's got such a long cooldown. However, it is worth noting that anything that goes through here, they just need to touch through. They don't need to stand. They don't have to like continue standing in it, and they get dealt loads of damage. So it is worth noting the damage on these skills, these Squirrels. So Healing Shrine is the best one there. Previously I said because it's got that knockback effect, which turns into stun in PvP. I didn't like Cleansing Flame so much because it instead does slow rather than the knockback. However, it's a fire version of it, so, you know, if you have lots of fire stat or whatever, it does lots of damage. And in fact, that 11,000 goes to 15,000, which means it is more focused around the damage. Spiritual Circle, this new one, is almost identical to Healing Shrine. It's pretty much exactly the same. It's just got 1% more nature rather than the water there. And it's got the knockback. It's just a nature version. So this is a noteworthy damage skill rune, rather than just like looking at this for the healing and, you know, looking like, oh, I've already got Healing Shrine, I'm not going to bother with this one. So this is one which, ultimately, when I get it, I think I will level it up as well, just because it's actually very decent nature damage. I will show all these in a second. I just wanted to talk about those couple of things. Mad Squirrel here, this is like Infected Pig. Very similar damage, and it also has that huge area effect, which I'll show now. If I stand here, you'll see, I was a bit close there, but anyway, you can hit enemies from really far away, and it just does insane damage. It's an absolute nuke. So let's go into the event now, and have a look at the 3 of these. See what they look like. None of the Wizard Squirrels are buggy. They're all completely fine. It's just the other ones on the other classes. So I'll give this a go. It's good. I've actually got a good setup here. I went in without checking that. I'm fairly weak with what I'm using right now. Okay, I'm just going to clear out some of the enemies, so we only have a few to play with, so I don't accidentally die. other than these new Squirrels, the only nature damage that's useful is a nature Drake, really. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do Mimic. You will see how, okay, that's, I don't know how best to show Mimic, really. Basically, I'm going to use Mad Squirrel, and we'll see how much damage the nature does. There'll be 2 hits, and if you can see there's like an 800,000 and a 400,000. That second hit, that 400,000 was from the Mimic. So as you can see, it's actually fairly decent. I'm with 50% nature stat at the moment, so not particularly high. However, as you can see, the 400,000, that hits like 12 times if you've got the skill to level 99. So that's actually a lot of damage. I'll use it again now. It's polymorph immune. You can see the 600,000 and the 400,000 there going off. Well, 300, 400,000, something like that. So that's those there. And then spiritual healing. As well, you've got to remember you can double the fountain with Mimic. So I'm going to do that now. And I'll double it up. And you should see a lot of damage going on them once they get into it. Well, I say a lot. It's dealt over time. But the damage from it is Mimic damage again. So any boost to nature from Mocking Demise will be put into your Healing Shrine. Well, I call it Healing Shrine. I keep calling it Healing Shrine because that's the water one, which I now always use. But your Spiritual Circle. So actually do some quite decent damage to them. Supposedly. Anyway, so that's those ones there. And then now I'm going to show Mad Squirrel properly. So this hits a very, very large area. I'm going to clear out these enemies, actually. Let's go on the next wave. Oh, did they add an animation to Flame Cannon? Yes, they did. Okay, I'm currently on the next version, so that's probably something which we're going to see on the next version. And they've added an animation to Flame Cannon, which is great because we've had that for a year, and it's like it's invisible, so it just looks kind of weird. All right, so now I'm going to hit them with Mad Squirrel. As you can see, it's going to hit a very large area. You'll hit all those enemies, and then you get 12 ticks of extremely high damage. Oh, actually, that's 600,000. That was from the Mimic. Ah, so that was from the Mimic. It's because I'm not particularly strong. So if I was strong, the Mad Squirrel hits would be doing like 1 million or more. And that's when the Mimic doesn't look quite so powerful. But yeah, as you can see, 12 hits and actually does a lot of damage to a lot of enemies. The cooldown on it is long. I've got a cooldown pot on right now. But ultimately what it means, because it's doing 1 hit per second and roughly 135 to 40% each hit, it's a very, very consistent high hit. The only problem is you need the skill at level 99 for it to be good. And if you have a cooldown potion, then it'll be consistent, but otherwise you're only going to use it like once, maybe twice per tournament or event. Well, this event's longer, so you can use it multiple times then. But yeah, that's why people don't like it quite so much. I had a bit of an argument on the forum about whether or not it was good. And I was saying, look, this does so much damage. It's damage over time, but it's like consistent, really high damage. So that makes up for the long cooldown. But yeah, take it for what it is. If you don't have the skill points, then ignore it. But if you do, I would highly recommend going for Mad Squirrel and testing it out, really trying it out. If you have Infected Pig already, the two are almost identical. It's just a shadow and a nature version. For me, my nature stat's much higher, so Mad Squirrel will be a lot more powerful. Anyway, so some good ones there for Wizard, and we'll move on to the Archer one now. For Archer here, the 3 Squirrels we've got are for Decoys, Thunder Guardian. We've got Mark of Death, which is the Mark of Justice, and oops, close that. And Venom Turret, which is for Ballista. One little thing to mention first, for Ballista here, they have a huge amount of base damage if you get this to level 99, and that's really where this skill becomes strong. Previously, Squirrel's Frost Turret does the damage as extra, and Holy Ballista does it as extra. Bomb Turret, that was a quite recent Squirrel, which I talked about, and it didn't do base damage. They've now changed this, but they haven't changed the description, so it does do the base damage, and with the fire on top. So that is now the best one, considering it also does an area of effect with each attack. It's insane at the way it clears out enemies, and Venom Turret is exactly the same. They've got almost exactly the same stats, it's just a nature version. It does the area of effect too. So why you would pick Venom Turret over Bomb Turret is, there's a very important reason why, and that is because if you've gone with a fire focus as an archer, which most archers do, then where you struggle in PvE is against water enemies, because that's when your fire does half. However, Venom Turret does double against water enemies, so really, and you don't even need any elemental stats for it, because this doesn't draw from your elemental stats. So this Venom Turret is going to be really filling that hole which you're missing without any extra effort. You just need the Squirrel and, you know, get the skill to level 99 if you can, and then this will do the water events for you. So yeah, that's a really, really good one. I'd say this is that's the one that stands out the most. But obviously I'm going to talk about the other ones as well. Let's just look at the numbers first. Thunder Guardian, this does a pathetic amount of damage. It's every other second as well. I didn't read this to begin with. It's every other second, so it's not even that many times. And it doesn't hit a huge area, doesn't really do any extra effects. It's just a bit of damage on it. It's kind of useless. I mean, the damage is like less than Festive Spirit, really, in practice. So if you're going for damage, go for Festive Spirit. Plus also, so this was originally bugged. It's like an area around it which it hits. You'll see it now. It like hits that area around it. When this rune came out, it was an area around you, which was really weird, because you had to be within the circle that it's making, and then it does an area around you. So they fixed that. However, it's still bugged with that it doesn't take the damage for you. So if you get this level 99, it takes all the damage for you. As long as you're stood near decoy, you are invincible. However, with this Squirrel, it doesn't. And I don't think that's intentional. So I'm going to have to point that out to them as well. And then the last one is Mark of Justice. This is a very odd rune. It's like Mark of Hope, almost identical. In that every 5 hits you get healed. It does a party heal and does a small amount of damage. It's not very much at all, so you don't really focus on the damage. This one, rather than 20% heal, it's a 24% heal. So marginally more, but not really. And then also, sorry, a huge thing about this is it increases damage at close range as well. Normally Mark of Death is just from range, so if you're attacking over distance, that's when it increases by 50%. But this is from any range, which means if there are any knights or wizards fighting in melee in your party, they will be doing increased damage as well. And if the enemies come near to you, then you can still deal increased damage. Kind of more for PvP as well, that might be good. But anyway, so the way that this Mark of Justice is odd is that it reacts differently to different enemies. So the normal Mark of Hope is every 5th hit you get healed. It's a party heal, and that's what it does. I think it does a chance for stun as well. This one, if you put it on a small enemy, it does it once. So after the 5th hit, it will hurt them. However, it never activates again. So I'm trying to move the different things. But if you put it on a bigger enemy, then it activates like 3 times. So I got a huge amount of lag there. But you'll see if I attack this enemy, no, it's not giving me enough time. Sorry for that. I've got a bit of lag. Okay, actually I'll remove the buffs. Let's just go with Thunder Guardian. Whoa, why am I getting so much lag? This is horrible. Okay, so if I put Mark of Death on this, you'll see it will go off once. That's it. Oh no, this is a bigger enemy, so it will go off multiple times. Okay, it's being dodgy right now. Okay, let's try it on this guy. So I mark him, do a few hits, there'll be the blast. See, it's just one blast, and then nothing more. Now I'll just get to the boss, because that's going to be simpler. Oh, actually, yeah, let's use Venom Turret. So you can see Venom Turret here, it will wipe out the enemies really quickly. Okay, next wave. Okay. Got to take down this guy as well. Okay. Next wave. So let's use Venom Turret over here. And you can see just how strong it is. Hopefully. It takes a little bit longer on the big enemies, but as you can see, small enemies, it just annihilates. And if you can grab them all around the decoy and then put down the Venom Turret, bang, 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 they're all dead. Or except the bigger guy, but, you know, he was nearly there. Okay, now hopefully we'll do the boss. It actually works against these guys as well, so I'll just show you. Great, we get that happening. Okay, now if I mark the boss, use the Mark of Justice, few hits. Sorry for the bad cut there. I ran out of recording time. It's just a really bad time to stop the recording. But anyway, so I'm going to be getting to the boss again, and I'm going to be trying to show what the what do you call it? Sorry, getting distracted here. Trying to show what the healing is like from Mark of Justice as best I can. So we use Venom Turret here again, just to have a look at what that's like. You can see here, clears out the enemies quite nicely. Is Scorching Arrows on? No, it wasn't on. Okay, so now we've got the boss. We've got Ragnar here, who is a very tough boss. So I let myself get hurt a bit. I'll try and survive. Actually, I'll use Dark Mist. Basically, the idea of Mark of Justice is you can tank up quite well. So if I let myself get hurt, there we go. Okay, so now I can use the decoy to stay invincible, supposedly. And then now if I mark the boss, you'll see what happens when I get hits there. Did you see that going on? It's every 5 hits on them gets a ridiculous amount of procs, and yeah, not much damage, but the healing effect there, that's 24% for each time it's going off. So ultimately, if you can tank with Dark Mist and Shroud Guard, like just have those on, have the decoy going on, like you're just going to become invincible really. Because yeah, you're just going to be healed so much, and you've got the damage reduction from the Dark Mist. Yeah, you should be able to do okay. I'm not sure about without a cooldown potion, but I mean, I was already thinking that that archers are really kind of invincible in PvE as it is, and with this addition, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, I'm not very powerful right now, but you can see my health just goes straight back up. No need for a potion. Anyway, so that's kind of where Mark of Justice is working, and what it's doing. So it seems that the bigger enemies and the bosses, it does that every 5 hits. It will do a massive, like 3 or maybe 5 times it activates. But on the small enemies, it's just once on the 5th hit, and then not at all after that. I will get that confirmed to see that's how it's working, because the description does not say that at all. But that seems to be the way it's working, and I've checked Mark of Hope again, and that's working as normal, like every 5 hits. So it does seem to be the way this particular skill rune is working. So anyway, if that appeals to you, then go for it. But I would say probably you've got enough on the class anyway to go invincible in PvE, and since it doesn't actually add much damage on or anything, I'd much rather go for the Mark of Ignition for the extra damage there. But otherwise, the Venom Turret is awesome. It looks really awesome. And then the Thunder Guardian, unfortunately, because it doesn't do the effect where it takes the damage for you, which I'm sure is a bug. It's kind of useless right now. However, otherwise, even so, it doesn't do much damage, so it's kind of pointless. So two good skill runes there. One especially good, and one that's kind of more situational PvE. I'm not sure about PvP. I'll have to ask people who get the rune whether when they use it in PvP, whether it does the one effect on the 5th hit, or whether it keeps working, whether it does multiple effects. I have no idea what it would be like. But if it does more than one proc effect every 5 hits, that could actually be a really nice rune for PvP to help with tanking. But yeah, like I said, need that confirmed by other people, and that may be a use for it there. So it may even be a PvP skill rune, I don't know. Now for the knight, what we have is 3 again. So we've got one for Charge, Lightning Rush, which is the bugged skill rune. We've got one for Spike's Thornskin, and then we've got one for Whirl, which is Wicked Wind. So Thornskin here, this is an exact replica of Emberglow. Pretty much the same damage and the same effect of every 7 hits pulling in enemies. It says every 7th melee hit, but actually it's any hit, so range hits too. This is a very effective way of pulling all enemies in toward close to you, which is required for the optimum damage output. You can do that with Sparkling Gift, but if you're not using Sparkling Gift, this is a really good way to do it. The damage itself, the extra damage, does not crit, so ultimately it's not really going to deal that much damage. However, it is still quite decent damage, considering that's to every melee attacker. But yeah, ultimately you're going to be doing it with the base damage here if you get this skill up to 99, which I would highly recommend because it's the best one to do that on. So anyway, it's a nature version of Emberglow, but because the damage isn't quite so important, just pick one of the two, I would, to be honest. Then we've got Wicked Wind, which is an almost exact replica of Freezing Aura. In fact, it is an exact replica. No, 84% rather than 80%, but even so, it's a nature version of Whirl here, which nothing that special about it. Freezing Aura was the best one here. I think it's actually the second most recent. Yeah, it is. So it's a nature version of it. This is surprisingly damaging. The way they rebalanced Whirl when they did the last rebalancing of skill runes, they made it a really high damage skill. The skill runes especially do lots of damage. So this is a quite serious nature damage skill. So great added to the repertoire. Because we've got Hurl, this Dancing Toxic skill, this is incredibly powerful. This, along with Wicked Whirl, and then also Thunder Charge, we've got the Thorn Skin, and then on Cleave we've got Wild Swing, which isn't the best, but like those together make a very solid nature build. You can go full nature on Knight, and it be very strong. So yeah, these skill runes have added that in. The next one, Lightning Rush. This is a very complicated skill rune. And ultimately the best skill rune for charge is Sparkling Gift. Because it pulls all the enemies together, it actually deals decent damage as well. It doesn't deal any base damage though. Lightning Rush does deal base damage, so this new skill rune, Lightning Rush, is the most powerful skill rune for charge. However, because it doesn't do that pull effect, I would say I wouldn't use it. Certainly not in PvP. The extra effect of it is buggy as well. So I'm just going to go in and show it, but this could be a good damaging skill rune. I mean, it does like the 200% extra nature onto the hit, so that's quite high, and you can't really deny that. The fact it's got quite a low cooldown as well means it's going to be a reliable way of doing it. Oh, actually, I'll just make myself invincible. Hold on. So I'm going to show Thunder Charge first of all. Charge in, and then as you can see, the Lightning Strike goes down. It's got a really big area that it hits. However, actually, it doesn't hit that area. All it does is hit exactly where the lightning comes down. Now, it says that it marks a target and then brings down the strike on that target. However, actually, when you hit multiple enemies, you get multiple strikes. The only one that's on target is the one which you actually select. So, if you follow that, basically the lightning strikes, they go sort of nearby where you hit the enemy. With some kind of latency lag thing, except on the actual target you attack, in which the lightning strike goes directly on them. Now, the lightning strike itself, it will only deal damage exactly where it hits. If the enemy moves at all, which you'll see with like this guy here. Oh, actually I missed, but there's lightning strike, there's thunder charge this guy. So if he moves, which he isn't right now. Okay, so if he moves, then basically the lightning will not hit him. You can see there, that last one missed. And as well as that, when you hit multiple enemies, when you go through them all, the lightning strikes, like I said, they go in odd places, but actually each lightning strike deals damage for every single lightning strike you've made. So it's really complicated, but ultimately, if you can group together all the enemies at once, and then thunder charge them all, then they all get dealt loads of damage. Otherwise, it's kind of pathetic and doesn't really do much. I mean, each lightning strike doesn't do much damage anyway, so it's not very important. But that's where all the bugs are going on, and it just looks really weird when you use it. And I tried to kind of explain it all there, but if you didn't follow it, don't worry that much. Basically, it does some extra nature damage, and that's all you've got to worry about. The lightning strikes themselves don't do much, so ignore them. Now we're just going to show Thorn Skin. So you'll see here, the nature damage is much lower than the base damage. That's because it's not critting. And you can see what was on the hit of 1 million there. Yeah, they're hitting 1 million actually. And then there's like 90,000 on the nature damage. So it isn't really much for increasing the damage. However, it does do that pull-in effect, which is incredibly useful for going into stuff like Cleave. Oh, actually, use Aftershocks there. Or Whirl, actually. So Wicked Whirl does a lot of damage on each hit. I say a lot, actually it's 80%. But it really stacks up, and the fact you can just use Whirl and then use other skills. Sorry, excuse me. Whirl is a very solid damage skill now, and it's nice that it protects you from knockback and stuff as well. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to say about these Squirrels. Slightly less exciting on the night class because 2 of the Squirrels are repeats, and then the lightning rush I'm not so keen on. I mean, it can do some nature damage, but Sparkling Gift is just so much better. The way it pulls on the enemies together and slows them as well. It's just a lot better for actually killing off enemies. But anyway, that's it for the different Squirrels on the different classes. A few last things I wanted to say was I will be getting back into making videos in the near future. Not for a few days, but I'll get into it again. And I've got a series which I'm excited about making. It's going to be 3 episodes. And yeah, it should be really cool of me fighting PvE with the different classes and showing all the different things you can do at low level, high level. I also wanted to say a big thank you for the last week or two. I've had like a record number of people joining my Kings Road Guides Facebook page. I don't know why, because I haven't actually put anything on for a couple of weeks. But thank you very much, and it's nice to know that there are people out there like finding my stuff now or like passing the word on. I don't know exactly, but thank you when I'm not actually doing anything to be, you know, joining the page and that kind of stuff. And I hope to bring lots of good stuff to you. So yeah, big thank you, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions about the Squirrels, leave them in comments, and I'll try to explain everything. I hope I've given a fairly good overview of them all. And the brilliant ones, just saying again, are Wicked Whirl, I would say is a brilliant one. For Archer, the Venom Turret is incredibly useful. And then for Wizard, the Mad Squirrel, I do absolutely love. I think they've made that skill very strong, very good, and that Squirrel should prove it. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.